So we've established here BYU and Iowa State. Great thing for the league, the way that they're going. They continue to be a story. People will have to talk about them. There are some shades of the 2022 TCU Horned Frogs going on there. But what about the rest of the league? I do not think that it's a foregone conclusion that one of those two, Iowa State or BYU, will win the league. I think, to me, there are really two main other contenders here. I think we've started to see that sort itself out. Not to say that like a TC or a Texas Tech rather, or a Cincinnati could not get back into it. They definitely could, being 3-1, sitting right there. I just don't see the upside with them that I do with a K-State or a Colorado. So K-State and Colorado to me are the other two. That rounds out your top tier of the Big 12, your legitimate contenders now that we sit over halfway through the season. And I would say that with K-State, the biggest, most encouraging development that has happened since the loss to BYU, where they got left behind a bit in all of this discussion. Well, BYU ascended and Iowa State ascended and drew a lot of the headlines and attention. The biggest thing that has changed is that K-State is no longer just a one-dimensional offense. And that was on full display Saturday. Now, I understand, and I got pushback from West Virginia fans on this on Twitter. I understand why. Them saying, hey, West Virginia's secondary is not good. And West Virginia's defense and secondary, this sounds like a broken record at this point. Everybody has injuries for sure, but they definitely have injuries back there that have affected things. So I understand it's not like the 85 Bears defense that Avery Johnson was throwing against. But to me, this represents a 3-game trend. Going back to Oklahoma State, which was at the time by far the best passing game of his career. Then he went to Boulder and had a pretty good passing game. And then he went to Morgantown and had another one that reset the bar for best passing game of his career. This has all occurred, well, over the last 2 games. He basically has not been able to run the ball because of the hip issue that he has going on that we saw take him out of the Colorado game for a bit. Avery did not have a carry. Like, that might be one of the more underrated stats from the weekend of the Big 12 that, unless you were really intently watching K-State West Virginia, you may not know. But what has been the common criticism of Avery Johnson? Like, K-State fans that are on Twitter know it well. So many people calling him glorified running back. That goes back to the offseason. Rival fans have said that that's all he can do is just run the ball. And through the first couple of weeks of the season, he didn't do a great job of acquitting himself of that sort of moniker. He's come a long ways, folks. K-State's offense scored 45 points and came 1 yard away at the end of the game from, honestly, I think Joe Jackson scored that touchdown, if we're being honest. And it probably should have been a 50-burger that K-State laid there. One touchdown, non-offensive. So, all right, they basically scored 45 points offensively. We'll cancel those 2 out and say they essentially scored 45 points offensively without Avery Johnson having a single carry. Didn't call a designed run for him the whole time. He threw for 298 yards and 3 touchdowns, tied for a career high in touchdowns. It was a career high in passing yards. Avery Johnson's game on Saturday was the highest QBR for a Big 12 game in a Power 4 game this year. So outside of playing FCS teams or a Group of 5 team, that was the best performance for a Big 12 quarterback by QBR this year. Last 3 games, Avery Johnson, 63% completion percentage, 260 yards per game, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Again, he only has 12 carries the last 3 weeks, so the running game has not really been a part of what he's doing. That's 4 carries per week, including 0 against West Virginia. It was also a night where, for the first time this year, somebody completely took DJ Giddens out of the game. And I know West Virginia fans are not happy with basically anything that's going on with that program right now, but that was a hell of an effort. DJ Giddens finished with just under 60 yards. I believe it was 12 for 57. But he had less than 30 yards when the outcome finally, when it got to the point where, hey, the outcome's no longer in doubt. He had less than 30 yards. Like, he broke off a big one late that juiced those numbers up a little bit. There was no threat from DJ Giddens. There was no threat from Avery Johnson's legs. And those were the 2 things that carried K-State through the first month plus of the season. Now Avery Johnson's arm is able to carry them. It won them the game at Colorado. When they had to have the drive, they go in 3 plays behind Avery Johnson throwing a pretty nice ball down the field. Not perfect, but definitely effective enough to Jace Brown to get the game-winning touchdown. Now he does it all over West Virginia. So that's the thing. K-State has been a solid team all year, but now they are showing they've got another dimension. And that's what's really, really exciting if you are a K-State fan, because Avery Johnson is still so young at this point in his career, and he's showing great development as far as that is concerned. And for Colorado, look, we know about the offense, and they've continued to still get enough offense even without having a very effective Travis Hunter for a while. Travis Hunter played a little bit. It sounded like they held him out, precautionary reason. I mean, look, they had that Arizona game in the bag. I mean, Arizona was not providing much resistance there. I probably would have sat him too. But Colorado's offense still not really having too many problems in being effective enough. We know that they've got a good offense, great receiver core. But the defense, again, another unit that's having to play without Travis Hunter here. The defense has been very, very good for Colorado. Now, Arizona's got an offense that is on the struggle bus big time and way underperforming the sum of its parts. But Colorado's defense sacked Noah Fafita 7 times. That's more than Arizona had allowed all season. They also got a pick. They got a fumble recovery. They held T-Mac, Tedero McMillan to 5 catches for under 40 yards. That's a hell of a performance from a Colorado defense that people at the beginning of the year would not have thought much of at all. It has gotten a lot better ever since halftime of the Nebraska game. They completely have turned around where that defense is. They're developing like a normal program always does. And like a program with a good coach always does. So you got to give Coach Prime his flowers for that right now, man. In fact, at this point, we're beyond me emphasizing that. It's probably too much of a broken record right now anyway. Like, we've been in this territory for a while. Colorado's got a pretty good defense and a pretty good team. And with the talent, the high-end talent that they have, that gives them upside that makes them absolutely a contender here. They've stacked the building blocks up enough. They put enough of a foundation under Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, basically, to give them the appropriate launching pad to say, hey, you guys could win us a Big 12 championship. Like, I think that is out there at least as a possibility, not a likelihood, but a possibility. And it's because of the job that they've done to build up everything else there. So I absolutely have Colorado in that contender category. 2 teams who are not in, to me, the contender category. And I saw the note about Andy Ludwig at Utah. I will get to that in just a moment. It's like D-Day not D-Day. It's like, they call it like a black letter day, whatever. Pink slip. There we go. Pink slip. I was trying to think of pink slip, like pink slip day for offensive coordinators here, because Seth Luttrell got the axe at Oklahoma as well. I know it said Andy Ludwig was stepping down, but people that need some scapegoats, they're getting them. Anyway, Texas Tech, to me, not a contender. They're still mathematically in it. They're 3-1. But, boy, I've got a pretty hard and fast rule here that if you give up close to 60 points to Baylor when they've lost 8 straight Big 12 games, you are automatically off the contender list. And I've got to be honest here. Tech fans, I love you. And I got pushback from you for the last couple of weeks that I wasn't giving Tech enough love and that they are a contender and all of this. And I didn't see it. It felt like you hit a pretty manageable portion of the schedule, got some Big 12 home games early, took on a really struggling Arizona team and won. Still impressive, but I had my reservations about what I'd seen from the Texas Tech defense for a lot of this year. Hard to shake the Washington State game from your mind, even if that was without Taj Brooks. And I just didn't feel like, plus just that's not a program that has done this. Tech is Tech kind of does this. They'll tease you a bit and then let you down. Honestly, I see West Virginia fans. Let's see what you think about this. I feel like there are a lot of similarities between Neil Brown and Joey McGuire, where, I was reading today, I think the AP article, like the AP recap of the game, even mentioned, hey, This could have been like Tech wins this game, a home game against Baylor, right? A game that you should take care of business of, not give up 59 points and get clobbered and be down 30 in the fourth quarter. This could have been Joey McGuire gets Texas Tech ranked for the first time in his tenure, but now still have not been ranked in 3 years. And I know, like, I've heard the West Virginia fan complaints about Neil has not been able to get us into the top 25. And there have been moments in the Neil Brown era where you get excited and like you're close, you're on the precipice, and you earn the opportunity for these big games that could get you to where you want to go, and then fall flat on your face. And I feel like there's some of that here with Texas Tech. It's a probably slightly more talented version of that. Joey McGuire is certainly recruiting at a higher level than Neil Brown is, but still has not been able to get over the hump when they're in these situations. And when you start to buy in and get genuine hype and excitement, there's a bit of a flop there. And right now, it's more of an off-the-field excitement that comes around every year than it is an on-the-field excitement with Texas Tech. And I need to see it. They are very much in an I need to see it category for me before I will believe. And that's how I was feeling before Baylor. And then I saw the Baylor game, and boy, Sawyer Robertson, I think, is a fun quarterback. He can definitely do some things, but it should not be 59 points. That's the most points that Baylor has scored against an FBS team in 5 years. You have to go back to 2019 for the last time that Baylor did that, and it was against Kansas. So 2019 Kansas, that's not Lance Leipold's Kansas. All right, that's your older brother's Kansas. They were bad. We talked about Purdue earlier. They were worse than what Purdue is right now. So that's not good. Texas Tech still mathematically there. They could prove me wrong, could shut me up, but they are not a contender to me.